Hi, everybody. I'm Donna Reid, and this is Donna Reid Talks Voice. And I am delighted to invite my dear, dear, dear friend and longtime student, Peter Marinaro, who is a dancer, singer, actor, director. He does it all. He's amazing. He's uber talented. And I just want him to say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Donna, we've been working together, I think, since 2006, which is pretty wild. I thought about that this
Wow. Wow. Well, that's
we
a
go
long
way
time.
back at this point.
Yeah, we go back a whiles. We go back a whiles. Um, and we will be working with Paul. Paul, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everybody, my name is Paul Rico. I don't know where to start. I'm friends with Peter. We met doing Aladdin, a musical spectacular at Disneyland. And a lot of my experience has been theme parks and cruise ships, doing kind of pop and musical theater singing. Yeah.
Wonderful. And what did you, we decided that for this particular episode, the format is going to be we're going to work on a 16 bar cut, an audition cut that Paul has brought. And Paul, what are you going to sing for us?
I'm going to be singing I Can Only Be Me. It was written by Stevie Wonder, performed by somebody else from some movie, I don't know, but I had heard him sing it on YouTube years and years ago.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, just get going, you do your thing, and then
Okay.
Peter and I will just kind of interject whenever we want to and figure out what to do from there.
Okay, sounds good. Y'all ready?
Yep.
Flowers will not bloom until it is their season, as we will not be here unless it was our destiny. But how many times have you wished you were in spaces, time, places, and what you are? Yet who's to say that unfamiliar faces you could anymore be? Loving you that you'd see. You can only be you, as I can only be me. Oh, I can only, I can only be me.
Nice.
Dang, I
Very
had that last part. I forgot that. It usually just ends at the
No,
me,
that's great.
but the pianist kept going.
So, first of all, Paul, this is a wonderful song for you. I
Thank you.
think this is such a great choice, especially for an audition. I think it's really nice for you. But I want to ask, why'd you pick it?
Um, one when I think when I first heard the song. First of all, let's back up. Stevie Wonder is just an incredible singer, songwriter, all the things. And when I heard those lyrics, I think just various points in my life, you have these aha moments where you're like, oh yes, like you compare yourself to other people, and especially as an artist, like that's like all we do is we're trying to be this person or this and that. And when you come down, when you boil it all down, you're like, oh, just myself, me, the words, the lyrics, me just being me is gonna shine through. And so like I always just had this connection to this song for years. And honestly, I've never ever used it in an audition before. So
Okay.
I just
Well, I think you need to definitely use it if you get the
okay,
opportunity because
okay,
you can feel just the way you went through that song that
yeah,
you are connected to it and you love this song, and that's what in an audition sense we want it. Like when you started singing, I immediately sat back and just relaxed because
yeah,
I saw you go into your world and you were just so in it, which is great.
great,
Now, if you were to bring this in for a musical theater audition, which let's face it, like a lot of musicals these days have much more of a pop sensibility,
yeah,
I think this works perfectly. But what I want to work on
okay,
is focus this as if you're having a conversation with someone.
ooh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
So all that you just said, when we try this again, I want you to talk to someone specific that needs to hear this.
okay, okay.
Does that make sense?
I got it, but I'm not gonna tell you who it is.
Yeah, good. And you don't need to tell me, but at the same token,
Okay,
there's a level of when you give someone advice
yes,
and you're really good at giving them advice and telling them what to do, and then afterwards you get off the phone or whatever with them, and then you say, "Oh, I need to take my own advice. I
yes,
need what I just the information I just gave to that person. I need to do that as well."
ooh, okay,
So that last beat of the song that you said, "Oh, I didn't want to use that beat. I usually cut off sooner." I think you need that beat
okay,
for an audition because it gives you that sense. It's as if that person has walked away, has left the room,
ooh, okay,
and then you say, "Oh, I can only be me.
yeah,
I have to do this too."
okay,
Right? So it's adding just an extra level.
okay,
The last thing I want to say before I throw it over to Donna for a little bit, um, you really feel the emotion and the vibe and the groove, which I think is very important when we sing pop
mm-hmm,
for musical theater. For any time you sing pop R&B, you really need to feel the groove of the song in your body, and I see that, and I don't want you to lose that. So I'm just bringing it to your attention that you're doing it and
okay,
keep going.
okay,
But if this were a musical theater audition, I
mhm,
would recommend there's a lot of when you feel it that you kind of pull away and you close your eyes sometimes.
yes,
Which, if it's a choice that I'm closing my eyes because I need a moment in this song, great.
okay,
But when you have the impulse, and when we try this again, to do that, I want you to lean forward to
okay,
really communicate with this person.
okay.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. It's like being intentional when I have those moments where emotions can be communicated rather than pulling in and feeling them, intentionally pushing them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And because what you're giving is about that person and how they need to hear what you're saying. You
Okay.
can only be you.
Yeah.
Forget forget about all of this. It's all about you.
Yeah.
And especially when those big notes come, which I'm sure will address some things to help in that scenario, but that kind of leaning in and not pulling away because I think there's a difference of like when you're like singing in a studio where maybe this when you're just by yourself, maybe you're not necessarily talking to someone
Yes.
that it works and it's fine. But if we're approaching this for like a theater audition, we're going to want to see that leaning forward and talking directly to someone. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Great.
Got it.
Now, before you even comment, the first question I'm going to ask is the sound that you're getting, is that the sound that you absolutely want for this? Does it, and I'm not criticizing saying yay or nay, I'm saying, is that the sound that you feel you need to convey the expression that you're conveying? Would
Um,
you tweak it? Let me ask you that.
say that again.
Would you tweak it a little bit if you could? Or you could very well say, I'm happy with that sound, that's the sound.
For the most part, I would say I'm happy with it. Because singing this in the past and knowing how Stevie sings, which I'm not trying to totally mimic him, it can have the tendency to be super forward, and my voice I know does that. So those moments where I get to kind of open it up a little bit, I feel good about that. But as always, I'm open to seeing something else. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, just a little, because I'm all about the technical part.
Yeah.
Forward is a term that everybody uses. Forward to me is just an ambiguous kind of placement thing, and I don't deal with placement because everybody feels their voices wherever they feel it.
Yeah.
But if by forward you mean bright,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, forward can be bright. Forward can also be nasal and ugly. Forward can be feel forward and sound amazing.
Yeah.
So I hate the regular terms that everybody uses just because I want to be clear, clear, clear.
Yeah.
So when you say forward, you mean brighter? Do you mean nasal? What do you mean in the quality of the sound?
Yeah, I think I would classify that as nasal, but also bright. And I love to have I live in my mix, so I guess maybe that's that mix sound. Maybe that can be another characteristic of what I mean when I use the term forward. Yeah, so I would say nasally, not too nasally, but bright, and in that mix.
And that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's I. Yes, I would say yes. That's where I feel comfortable to move more.
Okay, now the
Yes.
reason, and again, I'm always about let's get the right sound
Okay.
for the emotion that you need. Now, why do you need that sound to express the emotion that you're expressing?
Ooh, good question. Good question. I don't know. I don't think I have an answer for it. Maybe the answer could be I feel comfortable there.
Okay,
Yeah.
and since you're being you,
Yeah.
that's your comfortable place.
Yeah.
See, the way I work technique is I will help you get any sound that you could possibly want.
Okay.
But the sound has to have a reason. There has to be an emotional reason for a sound. So,
Okay.
for example, if you're singing a classical piece of music, you're not going to go, "Caro mio ben." I mean, you're not going to get that sound. It doesn't
No.
suit the emotion of the piece. But if you're singing opera, I mean, if you're singing musical theater, you're not going to go, "I'm going to wash that man right out of my." I mean, you have to know why. And very, very specifically, I work with my students very specifically as to the sound. Now, if that sound you described as your comfort place and
Okay.
you're singing about being you, brilliant. That's the sound you want.
Okay.
Now, I didn't hear anything shutting down or any kind of constriction or anything in terms of the sound per se.
Okay.
But one thing I'm going to add because of what Peter said, he said you want to make it very specific. Who are you speaking to? Who are you going with? Who are you communicating to is the word. Um, when you do that, again, technically speaking, when you do it through, I'd like you to do it once um, before you even think about the acting.
Okay.
I want you to do it once understanding exactly what you're doing with the sound of the vowels because the vowels express the emotion in whatever it is you're singing.
Okay.
So you want to get that idea before you even really think about the acting, the physicality of what am I doing with those vowels? And the reason I'm saying that is when you start to think about communication, when you start to think of expressing yourself, telling a story, we go into speech mode. When you go into speech mode, you do not resonate for singing. You can't ever, ever sing in a speech mode. You want it to sound like you're speaking. You want it to sound like you're communicating, but you can't really do the cavity and do everything the same way as if you're just speaking like this.
Yes.
So what happens is when we start to get into the very specifics of the communication, sometimes we shut down things.
Okay.
So as an experiment, I would like you to sing the piece through,
Okay.
maybe even just sing the first couple of lines or so, but do it just on the vowels,
Okay.
just so that you get the sound that you want, and you notice how you're really moving and changing all of those vowels. So
Okay.
just it's just kind of a technical aspect of it before you even think about the communication of what you're saying.
Okay.
So I don't know, you don't have to do the whole, and the key you sent us is the key you're doing, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, and you started right from the beginning, right?
Yeah, I mean it's the same verse. It's the second verse, but it's yeah.
Got it. Okay, so let's see. We've got right. So there it is.
Yeah.
You don't have to play the track. Just sing it a cappella because
Okay.
it's just like an exercise. So
Okay.
whatever the vowels are, do
Okay.
it with the vowels.
So you would still sing the song, say the things, but just focus on the vowels. Is that correct?
Just sing the vowels with no consonants.
Oh. Ooh. Oh. Okay. I got you. All right.
Exactly, because I want you to really make the vowels distinctive so that you know where every vowel is, you know what every vowel is doing. And then when you go back to just singing it,
Yeah.
you know where the vowels are, and we will understand the words because the vowels are more distinct.
Moving through the vowels. Okay, that's the way I'm seeing it. All right.
Okay.
How will I move until he's and we will not be here as it were our destiny.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah.
That's now. What did you notice with that? What did you notice? Was it? I mean, I know it's difficult to just do it with the vowels and remember all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
words.
yeah.
But what did you notice about the movement of your tongue, the movement of the cavity, the movement of how did you change from vowel to vowel?
Uh, I kind of kept it just open. I felt more open if I sang through that with the vowels.
And how did it feel?
I mean, it feels good. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, one of the reasons I have people concentrate on this, another one of the reasons is when everything feels open and free,
Yeah.
then that's where the emotion comes through. That's where you can express yourself.
Okay.
Because if you're singing, "Da, da, 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 ba, 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 ba," do you know what I mean? It's like there's no revealing. There's
Yeah.
no, it's kind of shut down a little bit.
Yeah, it's like it almost can be like a little constricting. Like what you said, where you're like,
Exactly.
you didn't feel totally constricting, but we can open those things up a little bit more.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, let's play your track again.
Okay.
Do it again. Forget about that.
Okay.
Think about what Peter told you,
Okay.
and that will automatically take care of itself just because we practiced it.
Fierce.
And do it again and try to incorporate all of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to think and just to work simply, thinking about seeing the person right in front of you who you're talking to,
Okay.
yeah, communicating these words, and then focusing on when you have the urge to close your eyes and pull away, to
Okay.
feel, you want to lean forward and continue that eye contact with who you're talking to.
Got it.
And you know, just to piggyback on that, that also goes along with what I'm saying about the vowels because the lean forward and the opening your eyes is expansive. Opening up the vowels is expansive.
Okay.
Last thing we want to do is be contractive because then people are like, oh, what am I watching? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Ready? Let's see. How was the volume, by the way? Was it okay? Okay. Flowers will not bloom until it is their season, as we will not be unless it was our destiny. But how many times have you wished you were in spaces, time, places, and what you are? Yet who's to say, with unfamiliar faces, you could anymore be loving you that you'd see. You can only be you, as I can only be
Right. That that's a different experience right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
I was and it's I loved how what I was saying directly connected to what Donna was saying about what's happening
yeah,
in your like mechanism there, right? It was connected, right? So it's that idea that yes, before we perform, we've done the work vocally to
mhm,
figure out like, the work that Donna was talking about, to
yeah,
decide and intentionally decide on the sound you want, to figure out all of those things so that when you're performing, you're not thinking, oh, here's the big note and I'm placing it and I'm doing this, but you're only focusing on the story.
yes,
And a lot of the times that'll all fall right in line as it should with each
yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
What I love what you did in this one that I didn't notice even in the first time you did it is that first, and I'm not remembering the word that had an e vowel in it, where it was kind of big on the e, and then you make this diminuendo, and it's like, whoa, wow. Did now that seemed very spontaneous. That seemed
yeah,
like I'm going to do that right now,
yeah,
which is that again, it goes along with everything I preach constantly. We have to be constantly shifting, changing. Maybe in the moment you wanted to make that diminuendo, you made that diminuendo and
yeah,
it sounded amazing. Then the second time you went up to the same E vowel, then it was full, then you had vibrato at the end. It was a whole different thing.
yeah,
And there was a different meaning for both of those.
yeah.
That's wonderful. How did all of that feel? Because again, I didn't hear anything technically that you need to work on. I mean, it seemed easy.
Yeah, it felt good. I think, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think using those, doing what you all said, got me even more present than I was. And so at some point, I always feel like I got a little bit lost technically. But in the end, it wasn't like, oh, I cracked or anything. But yeah, I think kind of what you said, where like I was being spontaneous and letting that emotion just like come through and feeling what that was, because that wasn't rehearsed, right? But it felt good. But it felt good though. Yeah, overall, like yeah, it felt good.
Totally. So where did you think it lacked technically?
I don't know what part it was. Was it maybe like going up when I went the E on that on that E vowel, and like just sliding right into it. I didn't. I feel like I've hit it a little better before, but again, like that's just me knowing myself, and
All
maybe
right, so
I'll even
it
hear it.
wasn't maybe as comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, or just like I know for myself when I'd seen this song before, going from the like making sure I place that note and it's like in the right pitch
Okay, I'll tell
is
you
challenging.
technically right away. Let's get to that phrase. What is
Okay.
that phrase? What does that
Um.
what are the words?
You could any more be
You could any more
like
be
halfway through.
about halfway through. Yeah, got it. Okay, you could any more be.
And it's not,
So
and that's, and what I do is different from what's written on the page.
okay, but yeah, which is fine. You could just do whatever. It's I see it here, right? You could
Yeah,
any more. Is that it?
yeah. You could any more
And
be.
then okay, I'll tell you what to do with it when you go up to the B.
Okay,
Just give it a shot.
okay,
Right from there.
okay.
Approach the top note because you want the top note to be full, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay, but approach it just momentarily, like for a nanosecond, like it's a slight more falsetto, and then immediately it's full. So in other words, don't go in exaggerating. You don't go B. You go B. Do you know what I mean?
ah,
So,
yes,
so that you're not really just punching it, but you just for a nanosecond, it's on the, you just for a second, just do that little bit softer, but then it's right away full.
yes,
Don't pull back the energy. It's
yes.
just a little slight thing with the sound.
Okay,
Try it with that idea.
okay. You could any more be. Yeah,
Yeah,
I felt good.
yeah. So it's the idea that when we go a little bit softer, that almost always brings in a little bit more of that falsetto-like mix, right?
Yes,
So if you do it immediately soft, you get the maximum amount of falsetto-like mix in there, and then boom, right away you go loudly, and then it's not
yeah,
just thick vocal cords, boom, you're banging it out.
yes, yeah,
Now, this is going back to with Peter. he can maybe give you a suggestion unless you come up with one for yourself. Why does your character need to do that? Why does that technical thing need to happen?
Ooh.
For what emotional reason is happening for that technical thing?
Um. Yeah. Let me think about that. It's in the lyrics. He's saying, or this character saying, you don't say you don't accept yourself. You're not accepting yourself. And if you think about, if you were going to be somewhere else and you're going to be somebody else and you get to be somebody else and you get there and it's not going to be good. And so it is just like a reinforcement of how powerful this person is. If they looked in the mirror and they saw who they truly were, and it's like the end of like, don't forget that. Don't you see that, like, if you were somebody else, you wouldn't be as awesome as you actually already are.
And Paula, I want to add to that.
Yeah.
In the song, this is the first time you say, "How could I be loving you?"
Yeah.
So this whole time you've been telling this person, you can only be yourself because that's the only way that we can live like a fulfilled life. I'm going to do it. You're going to do it. And this time you're saying, how could you're really seeing this person.
Yeah.
By you being you and me being me, I could really love you.
Yes.
Oh, I just like felt that, right? And just imagine what receiving that must feel like, being like you're feeling seen as a person, right? And also, what I might add, your be, there's just the big jump, the big note.
Yeah.
The phrase ends with the question, loving you. How could I be loving you? So, when you're thinking about this as a like, right, if we were speaking this as a sentence, you're not going to put a period after the be.
No.
Right. And this is a kind of a thought process, like with the big notes, like sometimes we gear up for them and rightfully so. We've done that work.
Yeah.
But when you're communicating the thought in the sentence, we got to get to loving you.
Yes. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's also something else that can go in line with what Donna just set up technically with the be.
Yeah.
I think the focus needs to be on loving you because
Okay.
that's what we need to hear.
Okay.
So
When you
yes,
think
that takes the focus, that takes the pressure, the physical pressure of the voice off of the B, because where's it going?
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it's full, but it's leading you to the loving you.
Yes.
Perfect. Why don't you try the phrase again with that idea?
Okay. Okay. With music or without music?
No, just do the phrase alone with the music.
Okay.
Without the
Okay.
music.
You could anymore. Is that right?
Yep.
You could anymore be loving you that you'd see. You can only be you. 'Cause I can only be me.
Yeah. And you know what, again, technically speaking, and not only was that amazing, just the feeling of it, but technically speaking, the way you did those two E's made the you ooh, ooh better later.
Yeah, yeah. I felt it like open and place and felt comfortable and good there to slide into the U. At least that's how I felt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for sure, especially with pop music, but even musical theater, right? When
Mhm.
we work on music and we figure out where am I going to breathe and all of that, right? Naturally, sometimes it'll break up the phrase because when we talk, we do that. We'll breathe in the middle of sentences. However, as the actor, it's like we have to approach it as a thought, right? The loving you is a complete thought that
Yeah.
brings you to the next thought. So it's important to break the song down lyrically to see
Yeah.
what is the complete thought here, what is the complete thought here, and
Yeah.
then mix the vocals with that because it
Oh,
helps to take the pressure off those big notes.
yes, I agree.
And one thing that I didn't even have to address at all, which I normally have to with everybody, was your breathing. The breathing was very organic.
Yeah.
It seemed to go, the breaths were just very much a part of what you were singing.
Cool.
You didn't have to tank up for anything, obviously. There's not phrases where you have to go,
Yeah.
I didn't notice any, any tightness in the breath. It just seemed
Good.
to be part of the emotion of what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
which is what again, a thing I always emphasize. The breath has to be how your character would take a breath to say that phrase. The
Yes.
breath is not, oh, I have to breathe now because I have to blah blah blah. The breath, you know, this is what I have to say, or this is what I have to say.
Yeah.
So you did that very organically.
Cool.
Your body just kind of did that for you.
Yeah.
So that's very good. It just happened. It seemed to happen naturally.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was really, and what the other thing I wanted to say is the moments that you did close your eyes, to me, were choices and it was intentional. And for me, I was on board, especially at the end when you had that moment of, oh, I just made this person feel good. And when we make people feel good, we feel good, right? So I saw you enjoy that moment
Yeah.
and it worked. So I'm just bringing it to your attention that you did it just to make sure you realized in the moment, right?
And I did
Um,
when I did that, I was like, oh yeah, no, I need to close my eyes on this part because
yeah,
it's for me.
absolutely.
And but
Yeah,
it does make a good. It's good to know that distinction of being like, is it a choice and having that intention behind it.
of course. Yeah, and listen, naturally we want to feel, and we do feel it, but in theater we need, it's really, you have to communicate that, right? Because people are watching, we're seeing two people, even if it's, a solo on stage, they're still talking to someone, whether they're talking to themselves, they're hypothetically talking to someone up above, who knows, right? So connection needs to be there, and yeah, so that was just really nice, really nice.
Very nice. You want to give it one more try, yes, beginning to end, and
Yes.
just try to incorporate all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and see how it all works.
Yeah. Right. Flowers will not bloom until it is their season, as we will not be here unless it was our destiny. But how many times have you wished you were in spaces, time, places, and what you are? Yet who's to say, with unfamiliar faces, you could anymore be loving you that you'd see. You can only be you, as I can only be me. Oh yeah, I can only be me.
And that was the best of all.
Rough that time.
That was, and I have to say, the ending is my favorite part.
Oh
You, I
really?
mean, you sound great. The big notes are incredible. I think it's, when actors have lyrics like ooh, or sometimes it's just ad lib, right? And the music,
Yeah.
my nightmare. But you were telling a whole story within those, what, 4 bars of music on ooze?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just wonderful. So to me, I think if you're going to bring this in for an audition, you better include that end. You better.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to
It-
know.
yeah, because what you're saying, it's that this song shows that you can sing, you can communicate, act, and it's lovely. I think it's a great choice, and you should absolutely use
Oh,
it.
thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for participating in this, bringing that, letting us hear your beautiful voice, watch your amazing acting. I'm so happy that you did
Oh,
this for us. for me.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
I had a great time. Couldn't be happier to do this.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Peter, thank you as always. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you, Donna. I love it.
Thanks for watching Donna Reid Talks Voice. If you have any questions for me about this episode, or if you'd like to join me on a future episode, please visit donnareedtv.com and click contact.